My name is Forrest Breifogel. Why did I write the book Management 2.0, which is a book that's applicable to both leadership and practitioners? Over the years, a question has been plaguing me. This question is, are organizations answering the wrong question to perhaps the third decimal place? That's what I'm going to be focusing on during this session, and we'll be revisiting this question at the end of this presentation. My thinking about what organizations should do relative to process improvement and the business as a whole has changed over the years. So I'd like to share with you how my thinking has evolved. My degrees are mechanical engineering. In 1975, I took a class while working at IBM that changed my life. This class was Design of Experiments, or DOE, and the approach taught was somewhat of an enhanced methodology. Now, I applied DOE techniques and other statistical techniques over several years, and then approached management at IBM, stating I wanted to be a full-time internal statistical consultant. They bought into it. So I had the greatest job in the world in my mind. Now, over this period of time, I had a great statistician mentor and developed several techniques. Now, I thought there was a need to present all this information in a book. So that's what I did. And in 1992, my first book was published. Wiley was the publisher. Now, at the same point in time, IBM was undertaking a program called Six Sigma, as defined by Motorola. Now, leadership understood through this program that you could improve all metrics by a factor of 10 in 2 years, which to me did not make much sense. So I spoke with Motorola and got permission to use a process improvement methodology roadmap, and I included it in the appendix in this book. Now, at the same point in time, IBM was having financial difficulties. So I took a bridge of retirement after 24 years, even though I loved my job. So I worked with several companies on helping them make improvements. But in the mid-90s, I was asked to conduct Six Sigma training at Bombardier in Toronto and Ireland. This was a 4-week session over 4 months. Basically, this training was my introduction to Six Sigma DMAIC, or Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, Control roadmap for making improvements. Now, at the same point in time, I was under contract with Wiley to do the second edition of my first book. Well, rather than do the second edition of my first book, I changed the title to Implementing Six Sigma. Now, this book came out in '99 and arguably could have been considered to be the first detailed Six Sigma methodology book. Now, in 2003, I added lean concepts to the book as a second edition. In 2004, this book won the Crosby Medal by ASQ. Now, Smarter Solutions helped a lot of organizations with their Green Belt, Black Belt, and Master Black Belt training, and also the deployment of Six Sigma. However, one of the things I observed is often organizations were reporting $100 million savings, but nobody could find the money. Also, a lot of times the projects for Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma would not get completed in a timely fashion, if at all. So to me, there was something that was missing. And what I concluded was that there was a disconnect between process improvement work and the business system as a whole. So I thought something needed to be done to pull these various aspects for an organization together. And that's what I did when I created the Integrated Enterprise Excellence System. Now in 2008, I published 4 books that describe the IEEE system at various levels. In 2010, I had published the Project Execution Guide. Now, what is the IEEE system? Well, the IEEE system is basically a 9-step system where you start with the vision and mission, and then you lead to the value chain. Now, the value chain in IEEE describes what an organization does and how it measures what's done. So it basically aligns processes with the metrics that they end up giving. Now, 30,000 foot level or high level operational metrics and satellite or financial metrics. Then in step 3, as an organization as a whole, we want to look at theory constraints, customer satisfaction or customer inputs, also competition and the value chain metrics. From this information, we should be able to figure out in step 4, what is a reasonable satellite level metric goal that we want to achieve. Now this goal should not be what's to be achieved next quarter, but perhaps what the average monthly profitability is. And what we want to do is we want to shift that number upward. Then what we want to do is create strategies that are aligned to step 4's goals. And then step 6, we want to identify the improvement metrics at the 30,000 foot level that we want to improve in the value chain that's going to help the big picture the most. Oh, incidentally, we want to have an owner of these processes and their metrics and the project executions that's to make improvements to the overall process. And then step 7, we want to execute these projects. Now it could be the make process for actually executing the project, or it could be a Kaizen event. I don't care, but in step 8, I want to be able to demonstrate the improvement. And then step 9 is maintain the gain, and notice how that loops back to step number 3. So overall, with the IEEE system, we got a plan, do, check, act built in. Now we helped organizations work on this system in various aspects. And one aspect was looking at their metrics from a high-level point of view. So 30,000 foot level reporting is unique, and it has a predictive component if the process is stable. Where the idea is if you don't like what you predict, you got to do something differently with the process. Now you can also have these metrics reported along with their value chain processes throughout the organization as part of an IEEE system and its software. Now in both cases what we had at this point in time, Minitab was a requirement. Minitab's not cheap, and things tend to change within Minitab. So that becomes an issue. Now the other thing that happened along this time frame is I was getting a lot of feedback from practitioners to say, well, Forrest, this IEEE system looks great, but you really need to talk to my manager's managers. So I said, that was a valid point. So I need to do something differently. So let's fast forward to 2020. So to address that communication issue relative to IEEE, I decided to put together this book. Now, one thing unique about this book compared to what I've written before is in addition to paperback and Kindle, I want to have an audiobook format. So now the idea is if a practitioner or somebody else sees the benefits of IEEE, they can then suggest to their leadership that they listen to this book when they're doing their exercise program or commuting from home to work. Now the book has a lot of content both for practitioners and leadership. So the first item that I've listed here is instead of having Minitab for 30,000 foot level reporting and satellite level reporting, you can actually have this form of reporting with a free software that we offer that's described in the book. Secondly, we've got a clickable to make roadmap that provides a lot of detail that people really love. Thirdly, we want to have a methodology to quantize the improvements made from improvement projects. And this book shows you how to do that. Also, we'd like to have a methodology so we're using the right tool at the right time, whether it's Lean or Six Sigma. This book shows you how to do that. And finally, step number 5, or item number 5, we want to be able to have additional knowledge gained from over 20 clickable documents that are referenced in the book. Are organizations answering the wrong question to the third decimal place? The wrong question I think that's being asked is, what Lean or Six Sigma improvement projects should Tom or Mary be working on? Often when projects are presented like this, they're in silos and do not benefit the big picture when they are completed, if they get completed at all. In these challenging times, both practitioners and organizational leaders need to transition their thinking to what should be done differently. What may have been as satisfactory in the past may not work in the future. What is the right question? Well, I think the right question is, how can organizations move towards achievement of the 3 R's of business? That is, everybody doing the right things and doing them right at the right time. An IEE system provides a means to accomplish this objective of moving towards achievement of the 3 R's of business. An EIP provides a framework for identifying metrics that need to improve that's going to help the big picture. For IEE projects, there needs to be an owner of the 30,000 foot level metric that's to be improved. The process owner needs to be able to report to their leadership on the status of their metric and also the process improvement efforts periodically, for example, monthly, so that there comes a sense of urgency for completion of the projects. When given this visibility, then the completion of projects can become a reality. Why did I write this book? I wanted to present a methodology where organizations could move towards achievement of the 3 R's of business.